The rusted gates of old San Rafael Asylum, built in 1734 and abandoned since 1967, shrieked open like a soul being torn. Hernandez, camera clutched tight, stepped into its suffocating shadow. Locals whispered of unholy rituals, of patients simply vanishing, their fears echoing the raw, metallic scent of decay that hung in the air. He scoffed, his morbid curiosity overriding all sense. Inside, dust motes danced in the sparse light filtering through shattered, grimy windows. The oppressive silence of long-dead wards was broken only by his shallow, rattling breaths. Rusted gurneys, overturned wheelchairs, and the unsettling stains on every surface painted a gruesome tableau. A low, guttural growl, wet and hungry, vibrated through the floorboards, chilling him to his core. Hernandez froze, every hair on his body bristling. It wasn't human. Not even close. He swung his light frantically, catching a fleeting, skeletal glimpse of movement at the end of the hall. A gaunt, impossibly tall silhouette with eyes that burned like embers in the profound darkness. Terror, raw and primal, seized him. He bolted, a desperate, ragged gasp tearing from his throat. He scrambled blindly through the debris of a collapsed operating theater, his thundering heart a frantic drum against his ribs. A sudden, cloying stench, sickeningly sweet, like hot, spoiled meat and ozone, filled the air, choking him. Then, a chilling whisper, not in his ears, but burrowing into the deepest, most primal parts of his mind, hungry. Finally, so hungry. A monstrous, unseen force slammed into him from behind with the impact of a charging bull. Hernandez hit the concrete floor with a sickening crack, his camera shattering. A searing agony exploded in his lower back as claws, black and jagged as obsidian, ripped through his jacket and skin, tearing vast, wet swaths of flesh from his hips and exposing raw, splintered vertebrae. He screamed, a desperate, strangled sound, cut short as the Djinn, a skeletal horror with impossibly elongated limbs and eyes of burning malevolence, was upon him. It worked with unnatural, ravenous speed. Hernandez felt a brutal, rending pull as his entire left leg was savagely torn from his torso. The sickening shredding of muscle, the snap of bone, the wet pop of his hip joint detaching, all agonizingly distinct. His femur, stripped bare and gleaming white, protruded grotesquely from the ragged stump, tendons and vascular bundles hanging like severed cables. A hot, arterial spray painted the floor. His vision blurred, the world tilting into a nauseating kaleidoscope of agony, yet he remained sickeningly aware. Before he could even process the loss of his leg, the Djinn seized his outstretched right hand. With a crunching, twisting tear, his fingers were ripped off at the knuckles, then his wrist was cleanly severed, gushing blood onto the floor as the hand, still twitching, fell beside his ruined leg. The Djinn didn't pause for a moment. Its claws, now slick with his lifeblood, plunged deeper, past shredded muscle and pulverized bone, directly into his chest cavity. Hernandez gargled, a futile sound as something wet and hot splashed his face. He felt a violent, wrenching pull, a sensation of his very being torn from its anchors. A loud, guttural crunch followed, sickeningly loud in the oppressive silence. His wide eyes, frozen in impossible terror, stared blankly at the cracked ceiling as the Djinn devoured his still-beating heart, warm vapor rising from its gaping, fanged maw, bits of artery stringing from its black lips. His agony was a raw, screaming void, yet his mind, cruelly, still functioned. He could see, albeit through a haze of pain and blood. He heard the wet slurping. Then, a sharp, cold pressure on his face. The Djinn's bony digits clamped around his eyeballs. He felt a sucking sensation, then a squelch. His eyes were gouged from their sockets, the optic nerves tearing with a grotesque snap. Blinding pain. Yet, the blackness was not complete. He could feel the empty hollows, the dripping warmth down his cheeks. He was still alive, still conscious, a screaming void of awareness trapped in a ruined body. The Djinn, now stained crimson, leaned in, its fangs bared. A final, crushing force against his chest, a sickening implosion of bone and flesh, and then, mercifully, nothing. Silence returned to San Rafael Asylum, broken only by the wet, satisfied slurping of the flesh-eating Djinn and the soft drips of blood onto the cold floor. What remained of Hernandez was a mangled, disemboweled ruin, his face frozen in a rictus of unspeakable agony, now merely a discarded feast. The shattered camera, a silent witness, captured only the last few seconds of absolute, unadulterated horror. Hernandez was gone, every part of him devoured or desecrated, another whisper consumed by the ancient hospital's hungry darkness, lost to the monstrous entity that called it home.